Hello and welcome to the Driver Hire podcast. My name's Tony from Driver Hire Croydon and Sutton.
Hello, I'm Gary from Driver Hire in Colchester.
We represent two of Driver Hire Nationwide's network of over 100 offices. We decided to get together to create a series of regular podcasts for people who want to know more about driver hire, but principally to provide hints, tips and tricks to help our drivers be the very best that they can be. Hi Gary, how you doing?
Very good, Tony. And what kind of week you having?
Yeah, really good. Thank you, Gary. Thank you for asking. So what's on the agenda this week?
Well, as an agency driver, we all want to get work. So it's how to be asked back for work.
It's an interesting point because we've talked about this before, which is that actually a lot of our drivers have got more opportunity to influence being asked back than we have, which I know sounds a bit odd if we're the recruiter. But what do we mean by that, Gary?
Well, I always use the wording when I'm chatting to my guys and registering them that you will generate your own work. And they look at me if I'm silly because we seem to be the one giving them work. But if a driver's liked, they'll ask for them again and again. Even if they haven't got a full day's work, they think, oh, I like Danny. We'll ask for Danny back in again. And they generate their own work because they've got the right attitude.
Okay. And what, in your opinion, is the kind of attitude that your customers are looking for?
Being positive, happy, and more importantly, not being miserable and a moany driver.
It's a really, really simple thing to say, isn't it? But the last thing you need, if you're booking an agency driver, you're solving a problem. You're a person short for the day and you need some extra help. The last thing you want is somebody coming in there, bringing all their problems in to add to yours.
I understand why we moan as a driver. It's the traffic's dreadful, you're waiting to be tipped. But the client doesn't always want to hear about it. If you want to moan, give us a call. I'll listen to you for 10 minutes. And if I feel it's relevant, I'll bring it up with the transport manager or the client and help you improve your day.
Yeah, it's interesting actually. I was talking to Russ here in the office because, as you know, Russ was a transport manager before he came here. So actually, he was one of my customers booking agency drivers on a daily basis. And we were having a chat about this when we were planning for this episode. He was telling me that every single day, more than once in every single day, a driver would come along to the traffic office and would moan at him about how the driver that drove the vehicle previously had left the lorry. So that could be an agency driver leaving a lorry for a regular driver, or one of his own drivers leaving for another of their drivers. It could even be an agency driver complaining about how the regular driver had left the lorry. But all sorts of complaints of, crisp packets left in the lorry and bits of food and spilt bits of drink and even though it's illegal, people smoking in the lorry, believe it or not.
But that's a negative side. There is a positive side to it as well. We've got certain drivers out there who get asked back and again. I've got one particular one who works for a client and he's their favourite person, and to cover all holiday cover for all their drivers because they'll know their vehicles come back cleaner than when they gave it to him. He has a dustpan and brush, a cloth and a spray to tidy all their vehicles ready to go back. He's got a real pride in doing that, and he knows he's well respected, and he makes sure he sticks to that and gives it back better than he received it.
I bet he's never short of a day's work through your branch.
Oh, definitely not. The worst thing is he's semi-retired and doesn't want to do it day in, day out, but they really want him all the time.
To twist his arm.
Oh,
okay. Okay, so what else can drivers do to make sure they get asked back again and again?
Well, one of the things I use to say is when you come back to the yard, ask them if you can do something else. Can I wash the lorry down? If you got back and you're doing overtime, I can guarantee they won't ask you to wash that lorry down, but they remember you over other people. If you're in there, you're happy and you're asking to do extra things, they've got to remember who you are and you'll be asked back again and again.
I think you're right, Gary. The interesting thing is that the vast majority of jobs that we supply drivers to, and I think you're the same, we work on a minimum 8-hour basis. So if a driver's done 7 hours work, he's still going to get paid 8 hours. And we do that for a very good reason, which is that we wouldn't want a situation where a driver has to go to the expense of getting to work and just doing a couple of hours work for a couple of hours pay and it not being worthwhile for them. So it is a minimum basis, and obviously they'll get paid overtime thereafter. But I always think the interesting thing is, what's the driver's attitude like when he gets back in the yard after, let's say, 7 hours? Because he knows that if he gets to leave at that point, he's going to effectively get an hour for free in his mind. But in the customer's mind, you've got an expense they're paying for nothing in return. And yes, of course, if there's absolutely nothing for the driver to do at that point, then of course they'll be sent on their way with the customer's blessing. But a lot of drivers try and manipulate that conversation and ask the question as a leading question. Nothing else you want me to do, is there? Because I'm just going, is that all right? As opposed to, okay, well, I'm booked for 8 hours. I'm here. What can I do to help? And that's a really different conversation. And it's that, as you quite correctly say, it's that gets remembered by our customers.
Yeah. I remember I was doing some agency driving. It was just before I actually took over the Colchester franchise. I worked for a certain client, and his attitude was, I want you back because I can get you loaded for the next day. And once in a blue moon, he might have a double run for you. But I was doing 5-6 hour days, and it was fantastic, being paid for 8. And in all that time, I had one double run, and I still didn't do 8 hours. Mm-hmm. So it's having the right attitude, but his attitude towards me was, get your job done quickly and efficiently, back and help me get ready for the next day. So that's another reason behind it. And I was never moany or whingy to them. I might have whinged about the traffic to myself or the wife or whatever.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you find is very helpful for the drivers?
I think it's about problem solving. So, if you've been called in, you're called in because there's extra work, or there's a driver off sick, or whatever it happens to be. And so it's really, really important that you are part of the solution to the problem for the day, not adding to the problem yourself. So just being positive, being helpful, being willing, recognizing that you're going somewhere, not to kind of put out a fire, but in the same way that a fireman's called to a fire, you're being called to a problem to help solve it. So be part of the solution.
Be part of their team.
Absolutely.
One of the things I find really helpful is communication. The clients do like a phone call when you finish your last delivery. I'm all ticked, I'm empty. What would you like me to do now? And they will tell you most probably to come back or give us a call when you get close to the depot in case we've got a collection. But that way, they're aware, one, who you are. So they remember, oh, Tony's called again. If I need him, he's a good driver to communicate it. 2, they're very in the head of he's switched on. He knows what he's looking for. There'll be collections on the way back. They look at it, you're a professional because you communicate well.
Yeah, absolutely. And it sounds a bizarre thing to say for a recruiter to say it, but drivers can definitely generate their own work through their performance in the jobs that they do for us.
Yep. In August, I had 13 drivers offered permanent contracts in this climate. Of those 13, 12 took the job. I think it's amazing they generated that work themselves. They have obviously been in there doing a really good job, looking after the client, having the right attitude, communicating, and most probably all the things we've discussed, plus a little bit more. And now they're going into full-time work with the client. So coming to an agency as a temporary worker can often lead to full-time work.
No, really good, really good. Well, that's great, Gary. Thank you very much for that. No, it's been great talking to you again.
Tony, it's been a pleasure as normal. It's been a great episode and I hope everyone enjoys it.
And so if you have enjoyed it, please do rate, review and subscribe. And we look forward to speaking to you again next time.
Thank you, Tony.
You've been listening to the Driver Hire Podcast, and thank you very much.
And it's goodbye from myself, Gary Richards, at the Colchester office.
And from me, Tony Goacher, from the Croydon and Sutton office. If you'd like to get in touch with us, along with all the other driver hire offices, you can find us at driverhire.co.uk.
Thank you very much for your time. Bye-bye.